Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here this afternoon for our virtual visits for the Fine Arts at Carthage. My name's Ashley Hansen. I'm the Associate Vice President for Admissions and Financial Aid, and we're so glad that we can share with you some more information about art, music, and theater at Carthage. We have some wonderful faculty members here this afternoon that are going to talk with you specifically about their areas and their departments. We wish that we were able to welcome you to campus, but until that is safe to do so, we love that we are able to share this information virtually with you. And when campus is back open, which we hope will be soon, we will have you on campus. So this afternoon, we have faculty members from our art, music, and theater departments. And so they will be talking with you specifically about what their area has to offer, what makes Carthage unique, and why you should end up choosing Carthage for your college plans. At the end of the presentations, we will open it to question and answers. So with webinars, if you're new to the process, there is the chat feature at the bottom of your screen that you can ask a question. That would be a public question that others can view. There's also the Q&A section where you can address questions individually as well. And so at the end, we will follow up with all of the different questions that you have. We will be able to provide contact information for these wonderful faculty members as well, if you would like to keep in contact with them after the virtual visit here today. But from the art department, we have 3 of our faculty members, Professor Greene, Professor Van Winkle, and Professor Wiesling. From our music department, we have Professor Eduardo Garcia-Novelli. And then from the theater department, we have Professor Herschel Kruger. So we are excited. And so to get us started, I'm going to stop my share screen and then turn it over to our art department.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Greene. I'm chair of the art department. I primarily teach ceramics and sculpture and also the senior and sophomore seminars in studio art. I actually came to art on a little bit of a strange path. I actually started as an electrical engineer and wrote software for a while. And then I just had a little bit of a change of heart, and I went back to art school and graduate school and taught down in Louisiana and then at Michigan State before coming to Carthage. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our art program. We have 3 different majors: studio art, art education, and art history. And then we also have art minors, which are also in studio art, art history. And then we have new minors in photography and film and new media. I think one of the most exciting things about Carthage is we really offer a lot of new media, and we're actually really committed to both the traditional arts as well as the digital arts and the newest media. So we have beautiful, well-equipped and sunlit studios. We overlook the river, which is really with giant windows, and we have a full ceramic studio with electric and gas kilns and a full glaze and clay lab. We have a beautiful painting and drawing studio. We have a wood shop and full sculpture studio. We have an amazing print studio with a really nice new lithography press and Talio press. We do silk screening. We also have something that I really love, which is an antique letterpress that a lot of students, not only in the art department, but students from across campus use. Like, especially our poets love to come over and print their poems on that press or print posters. We also teach a range of crafts classes, including bookmaking and fiber arts. And then we also do video, sound, stop motion animation, digital and darkroom photography. Our studio art curriculum begins with a foundation series. And actually, we've just redone our series of foundations classes, and we're really excited about it. The new series is called Surfaces, Materials, and Time. And in these, students get a really wide range of experiences, playing with different drawing materials, different sculpture materials, different practices that include time, including video and performance. We also are very committed to drawing, and we have a drawing 1 and an advanced drawing requirement. Students, which the advanced drawing is all figure drawing, and in this, one of the major things that we're doing is developing keen observation skills, which is important for every type of art. All students are required to take at least 3 art history courses, and we recommend that they take even more. We have a good range of art history courses, beginning with traditional survey courses, as well as like Arts of Africa, Arts of the Americas, and Asian art classes. Students get to take electives in the media of their choice, and then they choose which advanced studio courses to take. We also have 2 different seminars that are catered to our art majors to really introduce them to contemporary art issues and practice. And then one thing that I love about Carthage is that every student that graduates does a thesis. And in the art department, that is a solo senior thesis exhibition. And they basically spend their entire senior year working on that exhibition. Another really popular program at Carthage is the Art Education Certification Program. And one thing that may be different about Carthage is that every student that gets the certification also completes the full studio art program. So the idea is first they develop themselves as artists, and then they develop themselves as teachers. So we're in an amazing community that is really committed to the arts. So I feel like our students get out into the field really early, and they get to get teaching experience in diverse schools that are really committed to the arts. And I guess another thing that I really love about Carthage is that art students not only study art, but they study a lot of other different things. And those things can come together in really interesting ways. And in particular, we have a lot of students that choose to double major or do a minor. And that really helps out both with their art practice, but also with their success in getting great careers after they leave Carthage. For example, one really common double major would be to do a studio art degree and a graphic design degree, which I think both develops your artistic voice and then also gives you a lot of really practical job skills. We have a lot of students that choose to study marketing or business, and I feel like definitely students would approach that from 2 ways. Some people are just fully committed to being artists, but they want to have some marketing skills and some business skills so that they know that they can make a living at it. And then other students are really into marketing and they want to get a marketing job, but they want to do the really creative end of it, so they add a studio art degree. We've had great success with students studying both psychology and studio art, and then going on to graduate school in art therapy, and then getting jobs as art therapists. We have a student right now working in a hospital on the west side of Chicago teaching art in the hospital. We've had students that are interested in biology and then go on to do scientific illustration. Obviously, art education is big. Another thing that seems to be really amazing for artists, and I guess for all students really, is that some of our students choose to double major in a language. and those students would study abroad their junior year. And it's amazing how they come back just completely transformed from the experience. And then also their artwork is transformed. We also have students that study studio art along with our art history degree, or classics, or archaeology. And I think all of this kind of comes together. I think our program really can be individually tailored to each student. Like, one thing is that when we have our senior thesis exhibitions, everybody's exhibition looks really different, and students are working in really different media and exploring different ideas in their work. And so really what we're trying to do is help students find their voice. And then in doing that, I think that that helps them figure out what it is that they're going to do after college. One thing that I wanted to talk to you, so recently, I think people are always asking about, like, if you study studio art or art history, what are you going to do for a job? And so I think some really recent things that have been happening is, I feel like we've had a lot of success with actually placing students, or illustrators especially, with children's book authors. And then even before they graduate from Carthage, they have illustrated a book and have been published. We have students graduating as marketing designers, freelance artists, comic book artists. We've had people open up their own print shops. They're sports photographers. We have a student entering graduate school right now for art conservation. We have a few people, both people that had studied art history as well as studio art, that are now in graduate school getting PhDs as art historians. And of course, we have students graduating and becoming art teachers. One thing that I want to talk a little bit about today is just how much things obviously have changed just in the last month. And I think being in the art department, at first it was a little bit stunning to think, oh, how are we going to do all of this at home? And I teach ceramics and sculpture, which are two areas that are really dependent on the studios. And what I would say is, one thing that has been really heartening, as well as just amazing to watch, is that, you know, we just asked our students, okay, we're going to give you your tools and your materials. Please set up a studio at home. And we have literally hundreds of students that have set up studios, you know, on their countertop, on a small table, in the basement, wherever. And there's just all of this really amazing, amazing art happening right now. And I think there's just been, we've had to kind of retool, change the projects. And in a weird way, I think it's been like a really rejuvenating experience. And also, it seemed like one of the things that was going to be really hard to teach online, but it actually has turned out to be something that has been really good online. Of course, I'm really excited to also get back into the studio, but I also think a lot of amazing, amazing things that have been happening over the last month. And what you're seeing in the slides right now is all student work that's been done in people's homes. And you can see from the backgrounds that this, you know, is people's bedrooms, people's garages, you know, people's yards. And so the art is really still happening, and that's been really exciting for us. And actually, this particular student has been working. You see, like, there's a full plaster body cast there on the right. And she's actually been working with Professor Jojen Van Winkle, who I'm going to turn this over to right now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Professor Jojen Van Winkle. I teach foundations courses and also new media, which includes things like video, sound art, stop motion animation. And and I've been part of working with the department to invigorate our current foundations courses with more digital media. And as Professor Greene was mentioning, the casting you see there with the plaster cloth was created by a student who, that her mother helped drape the cloth over it, but the student has been working on this kind of work for a little while, an independent study with me. And the student is also a chemistry and art major, double major, and currently a certified nursing assistant at a local hospital to get experience towards her pursuits in medicine that she aspires for. And it's been a pleasure to work with her. My background has been in sculpture, as well as I was doing associate producer I was an associate producer for documentaries before coming to Carthage, and a cinematographer. And I've also been a professional artist exhibiting around the US and working with communities doing large-scale projects and artist residencies. So I come from a background both in media as well as hands-on and community work too, with teaching experience at a variety of schools, community colleges, also the University of Wisconsin in Madison, MATC in Milwaukee, and some other locations as well in Virginia. As part of being at Carthage, one thing that I really like is that we continue to try to move forward in everything that we're doing. And so for the art department, one of our newest initiatives is to introduce digital photography. We've had a grounding in darkroom photography for quite a while, and now we're adding the digital age into it, as well as new media. And you're seeing an image of a student there working on a sound piece. We're offering 2 new minors in conjunction with the Communications and Digital Media Department. One is in photography and the other is in film and new media. And those will be in our catalog you'll see this summer. And so you'll be able to sign up for those should those be interested for you. There are 24 credits, each of those. In addition to having a rigorous and engaging curriculum, we also have a really involved community network amongst our students. We have a very active student organizations in the art area. One of them happens to be Kappa Pi, which is a honorary art fraternity, as well as we have an art club. And students do things like they're involved in fundraisers. A very popular one has been a draw-a-thon. And this draw-a-thon last year raised over $600 for a women's shelter here in Kenosha. And the students stayed up for 24 hours drawing. And you could pop by and see what they were doing or participate. We have a gallery at Carthage called the H.F. Johnson Art Gallery. We do show student senior thesis work in it. Predominantly throughout the year, though, we do have exhibits from artists from around the country, and we bring in sometimes curators, as well as we have our own gallery director for that. In addition to that, we have opportunities for students to have and be involved in an annual exhibition that takes place in the gallery in an adjacent space as well. We also have a student art gallery in our student union, and we have opportunities for students to organize and develop their own projects in the spaces, particularly the student art gallery. Our classes have the opportunity to go to some of the art hubs that are nearby in Chicago and Milwaukee. We find this very instrumental for the students to be able to see work both from the past and the present, and to engage in it both through looking as well as through studying. We are also just a metro ride away from Chicago, and of course, Milwaukee is a short drive away should you be wanting to do in-person internships. I did work with a student 2 years ago who did an internship for an organization that was located in Los Angeles and had a hub in Milwaukee. And so they were able to work remotely from Carthage on that internship. Here's a few examples of our student artwork. Again, a wide variety of media are possible for you to explore. And you can see more examples on our website. I too have been working remotely with my classes. You can see we use Schoology as our learning system here at Carthage, and my students post images and then we share them and critique them together. Our classes are full of students that are art majors and also art minors and have a variety of interests, so they bring all those skills to everything they create. We hope that you will want to try something new at Carthage. You see students here doing a variety of activities right below the text. Some of our students visited the local glassblowing facility in Racine. And I'll turn it back over to Professor Greene.
Hi again. So thanks for listening to everything, and would be happy to answer all of your questions at the end. But I do want to encourage you to apply for a scholarship. We have some great scholarships, and we do portfolio reviews for those scholarships every weekend in February. So if you contact this website, Fine Arts at Carthage, you can find out all of the information about applying for the scholarship and sign up for a scholarship. And all of that information is also on the website. So I hope that you'll come visit once we're able to travel again, and would love to see you at Carthage.
Thank you. Now we will turn it over to our music with Dr. Eduardo Garcia-Novelli.
Oh, I think that now I'm good to go, right? Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Eduardo Garcia-Novelli, and I am the chair of the music department, and I'm happy and glad to be talking with you today. I'm going to start sharing now the screen with music studies and what we have at Carthage to offer, and there is a lot we have to offer here. Let's talk briefly about what the music major entails and what the options we have here. If you can see myself talking, that would be that I'm going to talk first about the core of the music major. That means the basic degree, right? That would be like, think about the basic skeleton of the degree. And then we have emphasis, we call them, we have specialties within the music degree. Now, the basic core that we have is excellent for people who want to do a double major, music and something else. And we have many of our students who combine music with something else, like for instance, music and business, music and management, music and marketing, computer science, things like that. As an example, and then we don't have any direct relationship with them, but that example, people think about music only as a performing arts field or as a teaching field. Right here in the city of Milwaukee, only 45 minutes away from us, we have the headquarters of the largest music publishing and distributing agent in the world, okay? And it's called Hal Leonard. So companies like that will want to hire musicians, but at the same time, people who understand business and marketing or management or computer science. So this would be the perfect example for somebody who's looking to combine music with something else. Now, we have different emphasis within music, and I want to list them first and then explain them quickly. Music education, of course, is very popular. Music performance, with that instrumental or voice, and when we say instrumental, we also include their piano, of course, and any of the wind or percussion instruments, and organ. We have a spectacular organ in our chapel. If you haven't come to our campus, please come and visit. See our chapel is a wonderful instrument. Piano pedagogy and music theater. And we're going to talk specifically about all these emphases later on, especially because we have Professor Kruger with us, also will comment on this as well with me. And finally, it's self-designed. That means a degree that students can design and propose and will be, of course, evaluated by the faculty and then approved by the institution. Let's go more or less in depth each one of these categories quickly, but a little bit more detailed. We're talking about licensure for music education to teach music K through 12. We follow regulations from the DPI, the Department of Public Instruction here in Wisconsin. Curriculum includes the music core that I announced before, that I explained before. So those 40 credits within music that have all the specific classes, and I can be more specific after the presentation about what that entails. Plus, we have education classes as prescribed by the education department, very specific music education classes, like for instance, intro or basic conducting or instrumental conducting or choral, general music methods, how to teach music in elementary school and middle school, vocal or instrumental music methods, people who want to be choral directors or band directors or orchestra directors, learning about instruments, classes that will prepare you to be a music educator. Another emphasis will be music performance. These are people who are thinking about professionally becoming performers in the field. And typically after our bachelor's degree, they will move to a graduate school. And we have incredible success, an incredible track record of sending students to major universities in the nation. Like for instance, right now we have a student going to Indiana University for his master's degree, another one going to University of Miami with a full ride in violin performance. We have another one with an excellent scholarship to the Manhattan School of Music and Eastman, et cetera, et cetera. That can be voice performance, it can be instrumental performance, including piano and organ, of course. And the curriculum includes, of course, the music core that I explained before, plus 16 credits. So this is an extended major from the basic 40 credits that I explained before. You need to study pedagogy in the instrument or voice, extra private lessons for the performers, literature, be that voice or the instrumental, foreign language diction for the singers, opera history for the singers, form and analysis, basic conducting. Move on to the music theater emphasis, and this is truly an interdisciplinary degree, music and theater. I'm glad that, as I said before, that Professor Kruger is here with us, so he can also pitch in with the explanation that I will give. Now, this is really most of the core curriculum, but not the exact same, because it's a little modified to include both fields, including in there. So we have applied dance electives, acting 1, acting 2, play reading and analysis, play production 1, play production 2, history of theater. So we have all these classes offered in both. As I said, we have self-designed music major, which is proposed by the student in consultation with faculty. An example of this very clearly is a self-designed music major in composition. We don't have an official emphasis in this, but if we have a student who is interested, I can propose a program of study that is approved by the faculty and by the division. We can do this, and we currently have like 3 or 4 students who are doing this special emphasis. A little bit of Carthage Music Life. We do a lot of international touring. We have a sequence of tourings that happen every J term. So for instance, to give you a little history of the recent touring, in J term 2018, my choir, Carthage Choir, toured Hungary, Slovenia, and Italy. It was a 17-day tour, and we typically meet in the college for a week before going to the trip. And we perform in incredible places. Like for instance, in this particular trip, we performed, St. Stephen's Basilica in Budapest, or the Symphony Hall in Ljubljana in Slovenia, San Marco Basilica in Venice, or even the Vatican. We performed for a mass in the Vatican. One of the awesome things about the J-term trips is that we also have a professor coming with us. We created what we call a CSIM class, a Carthage Symposium class, a type of class that everybody is required to take at Carthage. So it's 2 professors of 2 different disciplines teaching one subject. In this case, I brought a professor from the classics department, and we had a combined class to make it as fast as possible. We were studying literature, of course, of the classic period, and one of my students composed a piece, a brand new composition with text by Dante. So we premiered the piece in the trip. Just to give a quick example, I could go more in depth about that. J-term of 2019, the Carthage Philharmonic in Central Europe. Just 2 months ago, 3 months ago, Carthage Wind Orchestra went to Japan. That's a recurring trip for them. They go once every 3 years. And next year, I am planning, once again, my J-term trip, and this time to France and Poland. We also do national and regional touring in the years where we're not touring internationally. How about the Chicago Orchestra Hall concerts? We do it now. This will be the 5th year that we do this. We actually rent Orchestra Hall in Chicago, and we invite 3 high schools from the area. We have a wonderful event that is both artistic and a spectacular recruitment event as well. Look at the picture and that amazing location. It's a historical hall in downtown Chicago. It's a pleasure and an honor to perform in such a hall. We have a fine art series that we bring professional artists that come from all over the country and sometimes abroad as well. So Christmas Festival is an event that we have obviously every year at the Christmas time. And look at that amazing picture. We have all of the choirs performing, all of the instrumental ensembles performing. And it's just a spectacular time of the year. It's amazing in our chapel. It's an annual event, of course. We have 3 performances, attracts more than 4,000 people. All ensembles perform, as I said. And it's an event that it's our most cherished event in the music department for every year. I finished with something that we did just this last summer. We believe at Carthage in all disciplines across the college, and particularly music, to look for events and for things, for activities, for things that will push the limits of who we are and what we do. We look at where we are and we try to find that next level, the bar a little higher than where we are. And we entered a competition last year in July of 2019. It's the Spital International Choir Competition in Austria. And there you have it. Carthage Choir was pronounced winner of the entire competition. This is only one of the categories I'm showing, but Carthage Choir won the 2 categories that the competition shows. And this is just to say that we work hard and we expose our students to the best that we can. And we raise the bar and we try to cross that, and which is what we did with this project. Here's a picture here to my right of the choir performing in Spital in this competition. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to your questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. And now we will turn it over to our theater department.
Hi, everybody. So hi, everybody. My name is Herschel Kruger, and I am the chair of the theater department. I am completing my 15th year at Carthage. I've been the department chair for 9 years. I was the division chair for 3 years. I'm very familiar with all of the different offerings across our division in fine arts and humanities. And it's exciting to be a part of such an energetic and talented group of students and faculty who bring such a dynamic and diverse set of programs and arts and culture to this campus. It's something that's very special, especially for a school the size and the scope of Carthage. And I cherish every opportunity I have and all the people I work with each year. The theater department has majors in several areas. We have a performance major, both in acting, and we have performance, our interdisciplinary music theater major that Eduardo had talked about. And this is a program that has an equal distribution of credits between both music and theater. We have a costume design major. There's a technical direction major with a range of emphases from scenic design, sound or lighting design, technical direction, and other self-design possibilities that students might have. We have a stage management major and also a general theater major with a teacher education and certification program where we've probably have 1 or 2 students each year who are participating in that program. We also have minors in theater and in dance. Admission to our department is through an audition and interview process that is held each Saturday in February, and we have different fine arts scholarships that students are competing for. Our theater season is broken up into 4 main stage productions. The Wartburg Theater is our main performance space. It is a proscenium stage. It seats 360 people, and we do 1 main stage musical each year in the Wartburg Theater. And we also do 2 other musicals that are held across campus in what we call the VPAL, the Visual Performing Arts Lab. And that's a shared space between music, communications, and the art department. We have a second space called the Studio Theater. Oh, I skipped. We also have 2 main stage dance shows each year, and these will feature both faculty and guest choreographers and student works. And our other space is the Studio Theater. And the Studio Theater, our student directors will compete for slots. They write a proposal each April, and through the vetting process, the faculty will determine who will get the show. There is faculty mentorship at this because it is considered part of the Carthage theater season, but this is usually our seniors who are working on their senior thesis projects and students who we can allow to take on this type of responsibility. The Studio Theater is set up as a thrust stage, but it is very flexible, and students have tried a lot of different things in there. Sometimes you could say it's somewhat of an experimental space, but we love the different creative energy that people bring to the projects in the studio. One of the cornerstones of our department is the new play initiative. The pictures you see here are from a play entitled Ghost Bike. It was written by Laura Jackman, who is a Chicago playwright, and she's a Wasserstein Playwright Award winner. It was a very prestigious award for rising playwrights when she had first started in Chicago. And within our program, the college commissions acclaimed playwrights to create plays and to work with Carthage students. And our students experience the challenges and the joys that come with being part of a creative process. Many times roles are created with specific students in mind, and also many of our students for these productions and other productions are working on and within the different elements of the department. So they could be scenic designers or costume designers, sound and lighting, of course, stage management and performance. The set you see in this picture was designed by Shannon Meyer. It was her senior thesis project, and she had several accolades for this, which I'll get to in a few minutes, but I want you to remember this image. And this was a beautiful play. It was a retelling of the Orpheus and Eurydice story. And it's one of my favorite things I've worked on at Carthage. One of our other productions was Up and Away by Eric Simonson. Eric is an Academy Award winning filmmaker, and he's a member of the Steppenwolf Theater Ensemble in Chicago. He's had several plays on Broadway, and recently he's written for such television shows as Man in the High Castle and last year's Homecoming, which was through Amazon, starring Julia Roberts. This was a play that was about an aspiring YouTube star who fell into the dangers of drug use and addiction. And it was a very timely and touching story that was, very important and socially relevant. This coming fall, we'll be premiering our 12th play in the series entitled Romeo and Juliet Walk into a Bar. And yes, it is a comedy. So we do a wide variety of plays. One of the things we've been very fortunate to do with our work is to enter it into the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And many of our shows have been selected to also perform at the regional festivals and be eligible for national awards. The department has more than 40 national awards and commendations in the last 11 years. Ghost Bike, that I was speaking about earlier, Shannon Meyer was the outstanding, she won an award for outstanding scenic design with that production. And there were so many versatile things that would happen with that set. I wish I could show you pictures of all of them, but standing on the left side of the screen, Shannon's in the middle of the picture under the bust of Kennedy. And also that year we won distinguished awards in direction, in development of a new play, distinguished sound design, and distinguished lighting design. And Simon Sklazacek is the other student holding 2 awards. It was also his senior thesis, and Simon was a double major in physics and in theater with an emphasis in sound design. The center picture is a play that was written by student Laurel McKenzie and Professor Martin McClendon. And this won 3 national awards: distinguished production of a new or devised work, distinguished director of a new work, and an outstanding performance by an actor in the play by Alex Johnson, who's the tall guy in the center. And the play Up and Away, just last year, we had won the Kennedy Center Citizen Artist Award, and student costume designer Latour Lazat won distinguished costume design. We also had commendations for distinguished achievement in the production of a new play. We had 3 students who had commendations for performance, stage management, animation, video design, makeup design, and original music composition. So we've been very proud of our work, and especially our students' work as our program has developed over the years, to be able to receive these type of accolades. Additionally, we've had lots of different study tour opportunities. And this is a study tour that I actually teach with my wife, who is an adjunct instructor at Carthage, and she's also a freelance scenic designer. But we do a study tour in New York every summer, J-term in June, every other year. So starting 2010, and it's really sad because we've had to cancel this year's tour. But the event has become really popular, and the course examines the development of the modern movements in art and theater at the end of the 19th century, and looking at the impact and influences of the movement into the 21st century. So we have a student giving a report. I think we're in the Metropolitan Museum of Art there. And then, probably shouldn't be, but here we are climbing and taking a picture on the Robert Indiana love sculpture outside of MoMA. The course is an extensive exploration and immersion into the theaters, museums, and art galleries of New York. And so here's a picture of the group outside of Hamilton, and in Strawberry Fields at the Imagine Circle. And then we do some site-specific things. There's the Picasso, it's actually a reproduction, the bust de Sylvette, who was one of his muses, and somebody had given a report that day. And we also have time for a little fun. Here we were in Central Park. I don't remember how it happened, but we decided to make a pyramid We're safe. You can see the spotters in the background. So we have a pretty good time. There's some serious academic work that we also do. And the study tour is for 2 weeks that we spend in New York City. Additionally, I've been part of 2 different study tours to Greece and Germany. In Greece, we studied art, theater, and architecture. And in Germany, we studied the intersection of religion and theater. Additionally, we've had some other opportunities for international travel and performance. As an extension of the New Play Initiative, the department has undertaken extensive tours with productions in Ireland and Italy, and you'll see here the famed Edinburgh Festival Fringe. So in 2014, we brought our play No Name, which was an adaptation by Jeffrey Hatcher of the Wilkie Collins novel. And I see our tech students setting up before the show one day, getting ready to run the show, and then you're out busking and selling the show. And here we are in Cowsgate, in costume, and also with our musicians singing, trying to pass out pamphlets and sell the show. And this last summer in 2019, we were fortunate to take the play Up and Away to the Festival Fringe, and a day at the festival includes busking and selling the show and passing out pamphlets. And there's 4,000 different plays and music events and musicals and comedy, sketch comedy, stand-up comedy. So you're in the throes of this festival that doubles the size of the city, and you're competing for an audience and wanting to bring people to come in and see your show. We had 6 performances each week, and we also had some time for a nice group meal. We could see in the center picture, and little sightseeing in that bottom picture where we had climbed Arthur's Seat one morning for the sunrise. So there's lots of great opportunities within the curriculum and with special programs that we have in Carthage Theater. And if you have any questions that we don't or aren't able to address in the Q&A section coming up, feel free to email me at hkruger@carthage.edu. You could also find my information on the theater department website online. And I look forward to talking to you more and hopefully seeing you on campus for a visit in the future.
Thank you. So I will ask that our presenters, if they could show their video and unmute themselves, that way we can open it up to the questions. We have some great questions that are popping up here. The first one's going to be for the art department. What would the expedition look like for someone focused on wheel throwing?
Hi, Logan. That's a really good question. And actually, I would say that it could look really different depending on the student. I have a student right now who's a junior, and she's absolutely obsessed with wheel throwing. And I would say if she was starting her thesis right now today, it would be a very traditional show of an exploration of teapots. On the other hand, we have a student graduating this year who is actually much more interested in sculpture, and actually that's Erin Benner, who's also a theater major. Fantastic wheel thrower, but she's doing pots that are actually going to be floating, actually hung, and they're very carved, and they're also woven with string and woven together. So while they are vessels and in some sense functional, they're very much more sculptural. And I would say in the past 5 years, one of my most favorite wheel thrown shows was actually somebody that was really interested in just making really large vessels. So she was doing these beautiful thrown cylinders that had a lot of throwing marks, and then they were just stacked into very large pieces that were as tall as hers. And she had just had almost like a forest of these really lively sculptures. So it could look a lot of different ways.
Awesome, thank you. So this is for you, Herschel. How do theater majors get in touch with agents?
Hi, Daniel. Good question. We do some work to align our students with agents and to bring in Linda Gillum, who is the casting director for Remy Bumpel Theater Company, also works as a casting director in Chicago, and she works with the third-year grad students at the MFA performance grad students at DePaul University in doing just that and helping them to, you know, make sure, and we do this as well in senior seminar, that their resume is put together right, they have the right kind of audition materials, they learn how to pursue agents, what it means, the difference between agents and managers and all the different parts of the business. There's also different online ways that people can submit to different agencies nowadays. So that's changed quite a bit from when I was an actor, or working professionally as an actor is the main part of my work when I was in New York, or when I came back to the Midwest, etc. So there's different ways that it happens, and we try to give students those tools and to learn about the business as part of their studies.
Great. So how doable is a vocal music ed and musical theater double major, and how might that work?
Well, number one, you're going to be busy, but it is possible. We have right now 2 or 3 students who are doing that. The music education, like any one of the licensure programs, requires you to plan ahead if you want to complete the degree in 4 years, to reserve the last semester for your student teaching. So that is a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it an impediment, but it's a regulation that we have to comply with. So in some cases, some students, when they choose to double major with music ed, they choose to do the student teaching in the 9th semester. That means, after completing the 4 years, and they do the student teaching in the fall. Yet, is it possible to do it like a double major like this and still do student teaching in the spring and finish in 4 years? It is. People have done it. But scheduling, you have to really count every minute and every sequence of classes one by one very carefully. And of course, it really helps a lot when you bring credits from high schools or AP credits or something like that. Really helps a lot.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it is doable. And sometimes you could do it in your 4 years, especially if you're able to bring in any courses from high school, take a summer course, take J-term each of your 4 years. There's ways to kind of load in some credits that will help reach the required amount for graduation. But it is a double major, that's a really packed double major. But students with good organizational skills and who are able to stay on top of things, it does happen. And I think all of us spoke about how common it is to have the double majors, especially with arts and other areas.
I mentioned that there are more than a couple, 3 or 4 who are doing it right now. One of them is actually graduating this semester. Her name is Darian Hiller, and I can put you in contact with her if you're interested, so you know exactly where you're up to if you choose to do a double major like that.
Yeah, and Darian's a good example. She's a very good student. She's been involved. She's been in shows. She was in the New York City study tour that I had. I know she's traveled with the choir. She's been able to do all these things. I know a couple times she's had to make tough decisions, like, I don't know that I could be in the show right now because I'm doing my student teaching. And it comes down to that sometimes where you do have to make a choice. But I mean, that's a good life lesson to take with you. But I think she's taken advantage of almost every other opportunity that's been out there for her.
Great. What do you suggest to do if you are interested in possibly taking a minor in art, but are unsure?
Hi, Miranda. I would say, I guess once you are at, if you came to Carthage, once you were at Carthage, I would definitely say, just take a class. And if you love it, take another one. And after you take a few art classes, I think you'll know if you definitely want to do it or if maybe you don't. But I would say, assuming since you're here at this, possibly you're a high school student, I would say maybe it would be worth your while to come for a scholarship interview, because perhaps if you actually were to earn a scholarship in studio art, maybe it would be worth your while to be a major, especially if you could get a good scholarship in it. And I would say, it's really actually okay to not know. There's a study that was done that says that students that declare in their sophomore year are more likely to graduate on time. So I would say don't be afraid to explore all the things that you love. And maybe it will turn out to be art.
Yes. Do I have to be a music major to be in a choir? Do I have to be a theater major to participate in the shows?
I will answer the music part, but I'm sure it's the same thing for theater. But in music, you do not have to be a music major to be in a choir. In fact, you do not have to be a music major to receive a music scholarship as well. Of course, the pot of scholarship money that we have is not the same for non-majors than the ones that we have for majors. Yeah, in terms of ensemble participation, you can be absolutely. We have probably more than half of the people who sing in choir or play in band or play in orchestra are non-majors.
You don't have to be a major or minor to be involved or to be in the shows. The auditions are open to the campus. I would have to say though that 90+% of roles are given to majors and minors, and it's only because if you think of it this way, let's say you're a runner, you're in track, and then you come and you want to participate in track maybe on a extracurricular level. Well, if you're not training all the time, you're not developing as much as the athletes who are training all the time. And it's much like our students who are in classes, who are training, who are developing, the different skill sets that go into performance. And so it makes it more difficult, I think, if you aren't a major or minor, but we do have students who are regularly participating in the theater program, either auditioning and sometimes being cast or working on the crews or doing some working within some other parts of the program.
Great. Does the new play initiative ever include new musicals?
We haven't commissioned a musical, but I would say that we had a play about Fannie Lou Hamer, civil rights activist, that was written by Regina Taylor, that had a lot of music in it. And also the play No Name had a lot of music in it. So we had students who could play instruments, students who could sing, which was very important for those roles. The music theater program in its music theater workshops that we do, I know, God, now I got to remember names. Katie Zutter and Dan Brennan wrote one or two musicals that they workshopped at the college. And I know J-term of 2019? Was it the previous year? There was a Chicago composer, and I think he wrote the book too, who worked with one of our music theater faculty members. They did a new musical entitled My Real Mother. And those opportunities do happen, but to a straight up musical, the answer would be no. But plays in which music was was a central part of it, yes.
Great. Do you have to be in an art major or minor to be in the stage crew, or is that open to the campus as well?
An art major or minor for stage crew? Stage crew is, no, you don't have to be a theater major or minor to be in the stage crew. There are some courses that are helpful to advance if you want to go beyond just being on the crew, to be a property master, to work as an assistant lighting designer, sound design, etc. But you don't have to be a major or minor to be on a crew. You just got to prove you're going to show up and and be committed to it.
The student is asking if we could touch upon the new film-related minor.
Yeah, yes, I can talk about that. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm showing up.
You are. Go ahead, Josie.
Sorry about that. I couldn't tell. Yeah, our new minor is, there's a lot of choices involved in it. You can do things like you could focus on screenwriting, you could focus on production, but there is a basis in it. We have four classes that are, some of them are art classes focused on art elements or elements that will show up in any kind of artwork that you might do, as well as we have a 4D course which focuses on video or sound or other kinds of areas. It's sort of a rotating topic type of course. And then there's new media and more theory, as well as more in-depth with film. The curriculum, so those are 4 classes that you would take, and then you get choices for 2 other areas. One, there's a choice between about 3 different classes, some with film analysis in that, as well as you could also choose the 4D again. And then there's a wide range of electives that you could focus on. The film minor could also, if you become interested in new media, which we're continuing to grow, there's some classes that are really geared towards that. They're also part of our CDM, or Communications and Digital Media department as well. So you can kind of tweak it a little bit as you go to find out what you become more and more curious about and engaged with. And we just launched last week the website, so you can find that. And I'll see if I'm able to post that in the comments. And if I'm not, maybe we can get that link to you so you could look more specifically at what the course numbers are in the course descriptions.
So the next question, are all instrumental music ed majors required to take lessons?
Sure, thanks for the question. Yes. Everybody, instrumental music ed, vocal music ed, or performance, everybody takes lessons. The difference is how many semesters are required for people. If you're a minor, you only take 4 semesters. If you're instrumental music ed major, you will need 7 semesters. So the 8th semester is reserved for the student teaching. And if you're a performance major, then instead of 8, that will be the 4 years, you take 12. So that means that junior and senior year, you take double lessons. That's unique of Carthage. Let me tell you, having 2 lessons per semester. So your question about music ed, instrumental, you're required 7 lessons plus the student teaching at the end.
Great. Are there J-term classes for the arts for non-majors?
You mean the arts in general?
Yeah, yes.
I guess the answer is yes. We have a lot of different options that we have in J-term, and you don't have to be a major to be in one of those classes.
Yeah, there's lots of different opportunities. I could speak as a parent here, and this will make Kim laugh, but my son took her ceramics 1 class during J-term, and I know he had a hell of a time making the 7-inch vessel on the wheel. But his experience was he had a lot of fun with it. He was challenged by it, and then we've had a lot of other students. We have acting for non-majors courses, and then we have different. It's a variable topics course, but it's ensemble and experimental theater where we do different things each J term, and non-majors can audition for that and be cast or admitted into the class. So this last year they did I wouldn't say a production, a showcase of Twelfth Night, and there was a few students who were not majors who were part of it, and it was a wonderful experience.
Great. So are there any faculty members that can assist in voice coaching or doing things like voiceovers or voice acting?
Well, there's private voice lessons that people could take for singing in the music department. I believe if you're not a music major or minor, there's an extra fee. You could take group voice. We have, of course, voice for the stage. For speaking, we've had some workshops where people come in to talk about the business of voiceovers. We've had a few people who have had internships working with the, what is their name? The Braille Institute of Milwaukee. That's not their real name, but they've been, they auditioned and were, they did internships where they were book readers, and they're trying to create an online library of audio books for children and middle school, which is like one of the largest underserved areas for people with hearing loss. And you know, I think if you're in any department and you want to have a workshop or get special training, the faculty are going to try to find somebody who can help you in that capacity.
Ooh, we have a really fun one here for the art department. For people ideally double majoring in studio art and a hard science, chemistry or physics, do they typically end up getting their job in the science, then use their art experience to hobby? You probably remember me as a thrower and physics major. I just don't know how to combine the two post-college if I end up completing both majors. That would be from Logan.
Hi, Logan. I think, I think it could go either way. And, I think we showed the work about in the middle of our presentation with Sonia Katz, who is double majoring in studio art and chemistry. And I believe right now she's planning on going to medical school. But part of me, to be honest, seeing how serious she is about her art, I sort of wonder what she's going to do when she gets out of college. But she certainly will be successful in either one that she chooses. And we've definitely had artists that have gone to medical school and also artists that have become lawyers. And then I think I talked a little bit about how some people do biology majors and then they become scientific illustrators. And I would say that if you're serious and good and organized, there's no reason why you couldn't do both. Especially the studio art major is only 11 courses. So you could combine that with a heavy science major and do really well. And I would say, just using myself as an example, when I was in high school, I took, 2 hours of independent study art because I had taken every other art class, and I was also taking physics and calculus and computer programming. And I ended up going to engineering school and becoming an engineer and a computer scientist. And then, after doing that for 6 or 7 years, I just decided to go back to art school and become an artist. So I just don't know if you can know these things ahead of time, to be honest.
How many people used a theater minor after their time at Carthage?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I couldn't honestly answer that in terms of it being something that is a primary part of what they do, but I think in a secondary way they're able to use it to think creatively, expanding on analysis, interpretation, anything they read within text. Also understanding the ideas of time management and deadlines, because any show they work on, You know it opens on Friday night, and you know it 6 weeks in advance. You know it the year before. And when it comes that Friday night, you've got to be ready to go. And it doesn't matter what your job is. If you're a performer or a designer or a crew member, you have to fulfill your end of the bargain and that responsibility. So time management, organizational skills, meeting deadlines, those things you're always applying.
Herschel, could you elaborate on the difference between majoring in performance theater compared to majoring in general theater?
Well, yeah, I mean, both majors, in fact, all of the majors have the same core of classes. But as you start working through your upper level classes in sophomore, junior, senior year, your focus is, of course, on more performance-related courses. In general theater, you have electives to pursue different areas, and you may be a general theater major whose focus is in costumes, but you don't want to do costume design. You may be a general theater major who likes to act, but who also likes to build or do other things, or maybe they're in the teacher certification program. So that's the major difference, the first major difference in terms of the curriculum. The second would be your senior thesis. So performance majors are required to do a senior thesis in performance. And in fact, if they are a performance major and they go through their sophomore reviews and continue as a performance major, will guarantee that you'll get a part and be, completing a role for your senior thesis. General majors, we want their thesis to be to correlate with the majority of what their work has been within their general major, but there's more variety or less of a concentration in any one of the elements or areas.
Great. We have 4 questions left. These will be the last 4 that we will be able to take, but they're great questions. How many performance opportunities are there for incoming musical theater freshmen?
Sure. Well, I would say that it's important to notice that every time there is a show, most likely the audition for that happened the semester before. So when you are a freshman incoming music theater major, the first semester, there's a class we called Music Theater Boot Camp, and that trains you in text analysis, interpretation, song analysis, and gives you skills for analytical skills and performance skills to then continue on with the rest of the degree. Now, we have performance opportunities right after that, immediately, starting with a music theater workshop, for instance, every J term. And for that matter, we have a music theater workshop every semester. So if you think about it, you have a music theater performance show going on in the fall, in J term, and in the spring. And that's also on top of the main stage music theater performance that Professor Kruger said before. But Herschel, if you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate. Students who are music theater majors and students who are performance or general theater majors can be in musicals or can be in straight shows. So one doesn't limit you from doing anything else. And we also don't have any limitations on students being cast in the freshman year. Less students are, but there are opportunities. But as Eduardo said, we just cast our first 2 fall shows. So we cast Puffs and we cast Romeo and Juliet Walk Into a Bar. We did invite our incoming students to send in, this year we did all of it via video, to send in tapes or a file. But we do cast freshmen. When students come on campus, the fall studio show will have auditions that first week in the fall, and also directing class will have auditions for directing scenes. And later in the semester, they'll be auditioning for the J-term musical, for the spring shows, etc. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved right away.
Great. So How many times a week does the Philharmonic meet to practice, and does that change when concerts are coming up?
Oh, thank you. The orchestra, the Carthage Philharmonic, rehearses 3 times a week. However, one of those times is only for the strings. So that means that strings alone. So that means that 3 times for the strings are 3 times there, but on Wednesdays only strings. So if you play a wind instrument, you would be 2 times. If you play a string instrument, you'll be the 3 times. And the second part of the question was?
Does that change when you have a concert?
No, it doesn't. What may change is that suppose that you are a wind player or a percussion player, you may be assigned to play in the wind orchestra or in the concert band or philharmonic, depending on the repertoire. And sometimes if your instrument is not needed, you don't need to be the entire rehearsal there, but you will be moved around if you're a wind or percussion. If you're a string, you're always there.
Great. Are there outside opportunities for musical theater productions offered through the department at Carthage?
Outside, what is the question again? Outside opportunities.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not sure.
assuming she means like outside of Carthage, like things in the community, things in, between Milwaukee and Chicago.
Usually you're so busy, you
That's
don't
the
really
point.
have time to do outside things unless it's over the summer. And I mean, there's the Kennedy Center American College Theater, the Region 3 Festival, where students are competing or participating in the scholarship competitions. There's a music theater intensive, there's the Irene Ryans, but you're only doing scenes and songs from scenes and things like that. But during the year, you're usually don't have
I would
time. I
say
mean, your
that
focus is. Go ahead.
exactly. No, that there are some excellent groups, like for instance Racine Theater Guild, and then they offer music theater performances there. But as Professor Kruger says, chances are you're going to be very busy to have a chance to audition for an outside group and actually make all rehearsals and performances. That would be a little challenging. You probably will need to be on campus doing that.
Yeah, one of the things we do is, I mean, even within the departments, we try not to double book students in the semester. So you can't have 2 performances. You can't be in 2 shows at the same time, a studio theater show, a main stage show, or a main stage show and a music theater workshop. You can't have a crew position and acting or 2 acting things. It's really about your physical and mental health. You just get worn out.
Yes.
I mean, you could be in a musical and taking a full slate of classes and being in a choir still, and that's really pushing it to the limit. That's a lot of work. And it's a lot of your time.
Agreed.
So some of that is we've had a few years of experience. These white hairs aren't accidental. Well, maybe they are, but but I mean, part of it is really protecting you. And also when you have an opportunity, we want you to do the best that you can with it. And then when people get spread too thin, and this really ties back more to academics than anything else, is that you still have to be at your classes. You still have to maintain a GPA, and there's no negotiations with that. Like if you're sick and you miss class, I don't expect to see you in rehearsal that night. Yeah, I mean, if you're sick, you're sick, and yeah. So I know all of us have pretty strict attendance policies. So the curricular and academic programs are aligned in that way with the co-curricular programs. So it's too easy otherwise to burn yourself out.
Right. 2 questions left. Is there a way to get the theater teaching certification without doing general theater, like doing another theater class?
Well, I mean, you could The general theater major, I mean, you could do a performance major and get teaching certification, but you'll need methods and materials, you'll need to have directing, you'll need theater for children. We utilize the general theater major for certification because of the breadth of the different classes that prepare you for teaching certification. A lot of times you go and you'll teach in high school, and you may have a variety of responsibilities that come with that position. Yeah, you might only teach a couple of classes, but when it comes time to, you're going to be the producer, the director, the designer, you're going to be doing a lot of different jobs when you have to do the shows for your high school. So calling it a general theater major just means you're getting a wide range of courses. So when you get to that position, you'll have the proper experience and to be ready for those things.
Great. And our final question for the evening, what does an emphasis on music performance look like on a schedule?
Sure. So what I said is that's one of the emphasis we offer. So the basic core of music is 40 credits plus the thesis or the recital, whatever it is in this case. But in the performance major, you have to think 16 more credits. And you have to think that for the junior year, you have to present a 30-minute recital. And for the senior year, you have to present a 1-hour recital. So that's a lot of preparation and a lot of work. So think about 40 credits plus 16, that's 56, right? And then you have the 4 credits that would be the thesis or the recital credit. And then the rest of that would be the core of the college, and if you have another major. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you to all of the faculty. That was great information and great questions from everyone out there from their homes. So this presentation will be available tomorrow online if you wish to share with family members or to watch it again as well. But we thank you for coming this evening, and we can't wait to have you on campus soon.